Pozdrav svima i dobrodošli na večer koju već dugo priželjkujemo i pripremamo. Ova današnje događanje je više stvari. Jedno od njih je proslava 70 godina izlaženja časopisa Čovjek i prostor. S obzirom na to da je ovo tu 4. broj iz 2024. godine, s njima obilježavamo zapravo 70 godina nečega što je krenulo 1954. i manje više u kontinuitetu izlazi od onda sa jednom kratkom pauzom od par godina prije 15 godina recimo. I u toj svojoj povijesti je imalo nekoliko različitih formata, učestalosti izlaženja, uredništava i tako dalje. Međutim, ono što je zajedničko svim tim godinama izlaženja je taj nekakav kolegijalni kontinuitet, jer nešto što bi se započelo unutar jednog savjeta nastavilo bi se sa idućim i u biti je i današnji sastav panelista takav, jer Čovjek i prostor je prije 10 ili nešto manje godina imao jedno monografsko izdanje koje je bilo uglavnom vezano za godišnju izložbu arhitekata, pa je bio i katalog salona, pa je onda isto tako zahvaljujući Maji dobio drugi broj kao godišnjak koji nije samo obrađivao ono što smo vidjeli na godišnjoj izložbi ostvarenja ili što je na njoj bilo nagrađeno, nego se proširilo na širu djelatnost društava i nekih aktualnih tema. I tada je pokrenuta, i o tome ćete sigurno razgovarati, inicijativa 3. broja koji bi pokrio natječaje, koji se onda operacionalizirao sa Romanom i Majom kao tadašnjom voditeljicom savjeta nakladništva. Dakle, to uvijek nekako ide ciklički. U tim kratkim mandatima napori jednih postaju stvarnost naporima drugih, najavljuju se za treće i tako dalje. I zaista mislim da svi zajedno kao arhitektonska scena možemo uživati u plodovima tih kolegijalnih nastojanja. I onda je tako u prošlom mandatu Romana i Maje kao voditeljice savjeta nakladništva pokrenuta inicijativa za izlaženjem 4. broja ČiP-a koji je onda svoju stvarnost doživio sa Anom. I nešto više o ovom tu broju će reći Ana i Toma kao urednici izdanja. I tema riuza je nešto što se povlači zadnjih nekoliko godina i kroz na kraju krajeva nagrađene ili najviše ocijenjene radove na godišnjim izložbama ostvarenja i kroz temu salona i kroz ovaj tu fantastičan broj. Ono što isto nekako tu u ovoj, ajmo reći tako, cikličkoj prigodi jednog kontinuiteta mi je isto specijalno drago da predavanje koje povodom ovog broja ima kolega iz noAarchitecten isto tako predstavlja kontinuitet jedne suradnje koja je počela 2019. kada je Ana Fontaine imala predavanje iz istog ureda na arhitektonskom fakultetu. Evo, neću puno duljiti, ali zbilja mi je drago da tu promoviramo taj 4. broj, zato što bez obzira na to što su možda ona novinska izdanja prvih brojeva koji su izlazili u 50-ima i godinama kasnije, imali različita poglavlja, izlazili su češće, ali kada bismo ta tematska poglavlja koja su posebno obrađivala natječaje, posebno obrađivale nekakve aktualnosti, izložbe ostvarenja i tako dalje, zbrojili, samo reformatirali, reformulirali u nekoliko različitih izdanja, zapravo se sadržajem opet ukupno u sumi približavamo onome od čega je ČiP krenuo. Pa evo, pustit ću Frani da najavi pojedinačno sve goste. Hvala vam svima na dolasku u ovako velikom broju.
Test. Jel me se čuje? Hvala Mija na uvodu. Evo, Mija je kratko predstavila i strukturu ovog današnjeg događanja. Dakle, imamo ovaj okrugli stol, ovaj neki razgovor koji će trajati 20 minuta i nakon toga je predavanje. Nakon predavanja će biti nešto prostor za pitanja za noAarchitecten, tako da time nastavljamo. Reći ću to sada, podsjetit ću opet na kraju, i za vas na stojima se mogu pokupiti besplatno primjerci kako ovog broja koji sad promoviramo, tako i proteklih nekoliko brojeva koji su nam još ostali u zalihi, tako da pozivam da uzmete koliko god možete nositi. Ovaj put, nažalost, nemamo torbe, pa se možete snaći sa svojima. Dakle, danas su s nama ovdje Maja Furlan Zimmermann, odmah do mene, tko ne zna, predsjednica udruženja u mandatu 2019. do 2021. godine, ali i voditeljice savjeta nakladništva u sljedećem mandatu, a i danas njegova članica, kao što je još i bila i 2007. godine. Tijekom svih ovih posljednjih 6 godina Maja je uložila neizmjeran entuzijazam i trud u uspostavljanje kontinuiteta ČiP-a te njegovo proširenje i unapređenje. Maja je s jednakom posvećenošću smjeravala općenit razvoj časopisa i sudjelovala u brušenju najsitnijih detalja i mislim da je bez nje apsolutno nemoguće zamisliti da je ovaj broj uopće izašao. Do nje je Roman Šilje, predsjednik UHA-e od 21. do 23. U svom predsjedničkom mandatu također je sudjelovao u svim fazama produkcije časopisa, a i bio je ključna osoba za prikupljanje sredstava koja su omogućila visoke produkcijske standarde i konačno materializaciju. I prije predsjedničkog mandata kao član savjeta nakladništva od 2019. do 2021. Roman je pokrenuo važne digitalizacijske projekte poput digitalizacije arhive ČiP-a arhitekture te online bazu natječaja, razumijevajući tako ČiP kao široku hibridnu platformu za prikupljanje informacija o hrvatskoj arhitekturi, njihovo pružanje na korištenje najširoj javnosti, ali i njihovo strukturiranje sa svrhom sinteze nekog novog znanja. Do Romana je Petra Milički, dizajnerica svih ČiP-ova izdanih od 2018. na ovamo, uglavnom u suradnji s Nikom Mihaljevićem. Njihovo neprestano istraživanje vizualnog jezika i formata časopisa, koje često odudara od očekivanih rješenja u domeni arhitektonske publikacije, recentnim ČiP-ovima donijela oblikovnu prepoznatljivost, a Petra je bila nezamjenjiva kao neko ko je u stanju oblikovati i artikulirati golemu količinu raznorodnih informacija koji se iz broja u broj ponavljaju. Ana Šverko, voditeljica savjetna nakladništva od 2023. godine do danas i urednica ČiP-ova izdanih u tom razdoblju, također glavna urednica broja koji predstavljamo, i prije toga je bila članica 2 postava stručnog savjeta i moram reći da je ovo izdanje iznijela na svojim leđima također od krovne teme i koncepcije do najsitnijih detalja, tako da eto, hvala i na tome. Toma Plejić, član savjeta nakladništva u ovom mandatu, također jedan od glavnih urednika ove publikacije i mislim da su i njegova vizija i nekako energija znatno obilježile ovaj broj, pogotovo njegovu vizualnu komponentu. Tako da evo, ja ću sad pokrenuti neki kratki razgovor, možemo i međusobno neka pitanja razmjenjivati. Počeo bi s Majom, tako nekako kako i kronološki ide, pa evo, možeš li se, Majo, nekako prisjetiti trenutka kad si postala predsjednica, kad je se pojavila tendencija da se ČiP nekako razvije, oživi u tom tiskanom formatu, što je bilo ono što si zatekla, što je bilo ono što si odlučila nastaviti i na koji način?
Pa, za početak, hvala na pozivu, čestitam sadašnjem vodstvu na ovoj sjajnom rezultatu koji je pred nama. Te 2019. kada sam se s kolegama Tončijem Čerinom i Tamarom Bjažić-Klarin našla u UHI, ČiP je bio u stvari sveden na katalog godišnje izložbe ostvarenja. I to je bio jedini tiskani artefakt koji je udruženje uopće moglo proizvesti. U jednom trenutku je prethodno vodstvo Emila Jurcana, Dane Beroš i Ane Mrđa izdalo i katalog salona kao ČiP i na taj način im osiguralo mu kontinuitet. Nama se učinilo da kad već za ništa drugo nemamo nekakva institucionalnu potporu ili sponzorsku, da je taj osim kataloga godišnje izložbe ostvarenja, učinilo nam se da je to jedinstvena prilika da to izdanje obogatimo, da mu damo još jednu dimenziju i tu smo ambiciozno pokrenuli nešto što smo nazvali godišnjakom Udruženja hrvatskih arhitekata, misleći pritom i na objedinjavanje podataka o svim društvima, jer udruženje se sastoji od 11 članica, ta društva sva počivaju na iznimnom volonterskom angažmanu ljudi koji se angažiraju i odrađuju neke mandate i dionice i činilo nam se izuzetno vrijednim to sve pokušati objediniti, podatke i kao što se kroz godišnju izložbu ostvarenja radi jedna rekapitulacija nekakve godišnje arhitektonske produkcije, pokušati kroz to izdanje paralelno dati i rekapitulaciju tog našeg angažmana i nekakvih napora koje svi zajedno ulažemo. Nakon toga taj rezultat je prepoznat pa smo već iduće godine dobili potporu i Hrvatske komore arhitekata i to je onda omogućilo da nastane nešto što se zove godišnjak hrvatske arhitekture, kako ga i dan danas zapravo nazivamo i objavljujemo. Ono što je neki kuriozitet, to je bio broj koji ima nakladu 3000 primjeraka i poštom je bio dostavljen svim članovima Hrvatske komore arhitekata. I ta njegova naklada je čak i utjecala na način na koji se on uopće mogao oblikovati, tiskati i uvezati, jer je to bila jedna prilično velika naklada. Nakon toga Roman Šilje i Vanja Rister kao voditelj stručnog savjeta gledali smo na koji način dalje unaprijediti tu nekakav tiskani format. Odmah je prirodno došla od njih inicijativa da se objavi broj posvećen nagradama i nominacijama UHA-e, gdje i u tom trenutku si ti već bio voditelj programskih aktivnosti i tvoje iskustvo iz Orisa je pomoglo da se taj broj uistinu vrlo uspješno proizvede, da se ono što je bio nekakav objektivan sloj koji je donesen u godišnjaku, koji zapravo sumira sve što se prijavi na godišnju izložbu ostvarenja uz informaciju o tome ko su nominirani i nagrađeni autori. Kroz nagrade i nominacije je to dobilo i taj nekakav subjektivan sloj gdje su se uputila pitanja autorima. Evo tu zahvaljujem Divni Antičević koja je bila preuzela tu komunikaciju sa nominiranim i nagrađenim autorima za godišnju izložbu ostvarenja i tu smo donijeli i velike intervjue sa te godine dobitnicima nagrade Viktor Kovačić za životno djelo. Znači u tom trenutku je ČiP bio kao nekakav, imao je 2 broja. I onda iduće godine zajedno smo nastavili razmišljati na koji način možemo unaprijediti taj cijeli prikaz i onda smo se odlučili izdati i ČiP posvećen natječajima koji je na jednom mjestu sumirao i prikazao sve natječaje koje su društva, čak i privatni provoditelji proveli u jednoj godini. I sa ta 3 broja smo mi u stvari uhvatili točno ono što je Mija sad bila spomenula, to su u stvari sve one informacije koje su oduvijek bile objavljivane u ČiP-u, jedino što su one sada bile nekako drukčije sistematizirane, gdje se nije se pratilo nešto u nekakvom mjesečnom, dvomjesečnom ritmu, nego su se u stvari radile te godišnje rekapitulacije. I onda je došao taj trenutak kada smo prijavili ČiP za iduću 2024. godinu. Ambiciozno je odmah Roman rekao, prijavljujemo 4 broja godišnje i to smo uistinu prijavili, ta sredstva su odobrena i onda je evo ekipa koja je nastavila rad u UHI to uistinu i realizirala.
Super, hvala. Časopis je odabran je taj tiskani format za nastavak izdavanja. Ne moramo i to kao neku zasebnu temu izdvajati. Ako želiš to istaknuti, to je bilo u nekom trenutku kad bi prelazak u digitalni svijet bio i logičan, možda i jednostavniji, ipak se inzistiralo da se sve otiska.
Mislim, ono što se meni čini kao iznimno nekako važna situacija, mislim da je publikacija, tiskana publikacija je po meni ekvivalent arhitektonskog ostvarenja. To je neka realizacija u materijalnom svijetu. I ono što nekako obilježava arhitekturu, a to je to neka mjera čovjeka, ona je jednako tako i kod publikacija zapravo iznimno važna, jer taj nekakav materijalni artefakt, on savladava sve ono što i kao arhitekti svladavamo, znači one nekakve prirodne zakone i ograničenja fizičkog svijeta. Tako da mislim da za sve nas, pogotovo razmišljajući o tome da nekakva arhitektura i ta neka utisnuta riječ zapravo već jako, jako dugo vremena paralelno koegzistiraju kroz povijest, čini nam se da jednostavno nema alternative, nego da uvijek pokušavamo ostvariti taj neki tiskani otisak u svijetu. Eto.
Evo, hvala. Dakle, Roman je, kao što sam već naveo u uvodu, zaslužan za neko sasvim drugačije proširenje toga, ono što je to uopće čovjek i prostor i što je UHA-ino izdavaštvo. Bavio se digitalnim bazama kako čovjeka i prostora arhitekture, tako i recentnije izgradnjom baze natječaja. Pa meni se čini da između tog postoji neki odnos koji je nešto suptilniji od toga da se samo u različitim formatima gomila informacije. Mislim da jedno utječe na drugo. Sigurno mi je ta dostupnost ČiP-a arhitekture koja sad jedanput se može u svakom trenutku od doma prelistati građu od staru 50-ak ili više godina i počne utjecati način na koji se razmišlja i o današnjim publikacijama i današnjem UHA-inom izdavaštvu. Pa sam te to htio pitati kako ti vidiš taj odnos tiskanog i digitalnog, kako se upotpunjavaju.
Evo, Maja je objasnila ovaj jedan aspekt koji je vrlo jasan po tom pitanju, a neki drugi aspekt je u stvari nekoj, ono što se sad načeo tu temu, konzumaciji tog sadržaja u stvari, zato što je to ključna razlika između tiskane publikacije i digitalnog sadržaja, zato što način konzumiranja sadržaja u, recimo, publikaciji natječaja je potpuno drukčiji nego pregled baze samih natječaja. Znači, ta je nekakva mogućnost istovremenosti pregleda velike količine informacija kroz jedan ovako ruci i oku prilagođen format tiskane publikacije daje potpuno neki drugi uvid u to znanje koje se prenosi kroz tu publikaciju, za razliku od samih baza podataka koje su namijenjene nekim puno studioznijim, drukčijim načinima proučavanja te građe, možda nekim drugim korisnicima, tako da to je jedna komplementarna, ali potpuno različita situacija. Jedna bez druge sigurno ne mogu i sigurno su jedna i drugu nekako malo redefinirale u ovoj situaciji. Sad, ja sam samo htio se vratiti na ovu jednu temu koju je Maja spomenula. Mislim da je koliko već, znači radimo na ovome da se ČiP nekako svi zajedno zadnjih nekoliko mandata, znači 8 godina radimo neko intenziviranju te cijele izdavačke djelatnosti UHA-e i moram tu zahvaliti naravno svima koji su radili u tom procesu, a pogotovo moram zahvaliti Ministarstvu kulture i medija, evo tu je kolega Petrinec iz ministarstva, koji su prepoznali u jednom trenutku tu našu ambiciju da nekako tu baštinu našu na bilo koji način aktualiziramo i onda pretvorimo neko izdanje. Ono što bi još rekao vezano za te odnose među digitalnog i tiskanog ovdje, htio bi u stvari napomenuti kako iza toga svega stoji jedan ogromni rad iza te cijele digitalizacije, ne samo članova savjeta nakladništva ili nas nekih koji smo vodili te neke procese, nego jedan rad velike skupine ljudi, istraživača koji su radili na svim tim bazama podataka i obrađivali podatke. To je, sad da ne navodim, ali sigurno preko 10 ili 15 istraživača kroz ovih 6 godina koji su se intenzivno bavili s time. To je tak neki početak u stvari bavljenja tom građom i vjerujem da će iz toga sigurno i u znanstvenim krugovima izaći puno nekih novih rezultata.
Hvala. Petra je rekla da ne želi govoriti o svom dizajnu, jer on govori sam za sebe, pa smo je zapravo odlučili pitati o njenom početku suradnje s UHA-om. To je sad već bilo prije otprilike 8 godina. Mislim da je bilo za potrebe 53. Zagrebačkog salona.
Prije? Jedan broj prije.
Evo, onda te molim da se prisjetiš kako je krenulo.
Pa krenulo je s pozivom Ane Dane Beroš i Emila Jurcana. Kolega Niko Mihaljević i ja smo bili pozvani da napravimo redizajn u tom momentu ČiP-a godišnjaka, to je znači bila 2018. godina, radio se ČiP 2017. Tada je to bilo dosta skromnije u opsegu i u principu se planiralo da izlazi jednom godišnje i tu je ono u dizajnerskom smislu bilo to dosta u nekakvim okvirima koji su tad bili mogući i bila je ideja, u principu mi smo postavili dizajn na način da je on jednim dijelom postavljen, odnosno uzeli smo taj format B5, postavili smo logotip, recimo to tako, puni i skraćeni, Čovjek i prostor ČiP, a sve ostalo je bilo u principu, ideja je bila da se sa svakom godinom vidi kakav je budžet, kakve su ambicije, kakav je sadržaj, kakav je opseg i da se u skladu s tim zapravo radi i dizajn, tako da sve ovo ostalo kao što su fontovi, papir i uvez, to je bilo svake godine nešto drugačije. I eto, tako je bilo nekoliko godina dok onda nije došao i broj nagrade i nominacije, sad više ne znam koje je to bilo godine, a onda zatim i natječaj, to ste sve vi spomenuli i evo sad ovaj 4. Da, to je to.
Evo, hvala ti. Evo sad ćemo konačno preći na ovo izdanje koje danas promoviramo, pa eto, Ana, mogu li te zamoliti da nam kratko predstaviš samo temu i strukturu broja, ne? Imate članke, ćete pojedini priloge, možete vidjeti u sadržaju, ali evo kako je generalno zamišljena ova publikacija?
Da, evo, hvala ti, Frano, nećemo ulaziti u dubinu da krenemo što prije s našim predavanjem. Međutim, evo sama tema Adaptive Reuse se rodila u okrilju savjeta nakladništva, međutim kad kažem savjet nakladništva to je uvjetno rečeno zato jer je Mija kao predsjednica apsolutno uključena u sve što se dešavalo na tom pogledu i neki članovi stručnog savjeta, naravno i Frano, Andrea i Silvija koje su uvijek ovdje, a evo moram reći da mi je posebno drago za ovaj broj s obzirom da je ovo prvi dvojezični ČiP, da je sad i članica UHA-e i formalno Iva Masters koja je zapravo iznijela jedan prekrasan prijevod i mislim da je to jako lijepo što imamo dvojezični ČiP, znači jedan ČiP koji neće biti samo u bibliotekama i policama hrvatskog govornog područja, nego će stvarno postojati potreba da evo ode i u sveučilišta i u urede, stvarno evo širom Europe, ja bih rekla i svijeta s obzirom na globalno važnu temu. Mislim, nije, evo, s obzirom da su tako lijepo postavili okvir tematskog ČiP-a u prethodnom mandatu, Roman i Maja i njihovi suradnici, znači uzmimo neku važnu temu i pokušajmo je obraditi ne znanstveno, ne umjetnički, probajmo je zaista obraditi strukovno, kao možda neka goruća tema, neka sintagma današnjeg doba nam se nametnula ta prilagodba i prenamjena, odnosno adaptive reuse, kako smo zaključili da nemamo adekvatan prijevod na hrvatskom jeziku. Dragi suradnik s kojim smo već imali prilike surađivati u nekim arhitektonskim terminima, Siniša Runjajić s Instituta za hrvatski jezik i jezikoslovlje, nam se ponudio za pomoć i zajedno s njim smo došli do te sintagme koja zamjenjuje taj adaptive reuse famozni, prilagodba i prenamjena, jer hrvatski jezik nije toliko metaforičan kao engleski, tako da nam se taj dvočlani naziv zapravo činio kao jedan idealni prevod koji pokazuje ta dva procesa koje u biti pristup ujedinjuje. Sad kako smo htjeli prići temi, dakle da uopće, kako je evo to Toma nekoliko puta naglasio u našim razgovorima zadnjih dana, stvarno prilagodba i prenamjena postoji otkad postoji arhitektura. Nikad ne krećemo od tabule rase, znači uvijek dolazimo na nešto naslijeđeno, bilo prirodno ili izgrađeno i to mijenjamo. Tako da smo prvo okupili radove koji nas vode prema toj definiciji kakvom se danas prilagodba i prenamjena u arhitekturi pokušava razviti. I tu su nam kolega Kazimir Kovač i Maruša Zorec. Kazimir je kolega sa sveučilišta u Transilvaniji, profesor arhitekture i pejzažne arhitekture. Marušu Zorec, evo svi znate, našu kolegicu iz Ljubljane. S njima sam bila u jednom prilikom u u razgovoru baš o ovoj temi, tako da su oni odmah bili spremni da se pridruže. U razgovoru ono što je naročito lijepo, imamo tekst od Leona Husnjaka i Ane Horvat, mladih arhitekata koji su angažirani u nastavi na Arhitektonskom fakultetu Sveučilišta u Zagrebu, oboje doktoranti, mislim to su vrhunski tekstovi. Elena Fontanella je docentica na Politehnici u Milanu koja je doktorirala na ovoj temi, tako da imamo i njen krasan tekst. O prilagodbi i prenamjeni sada u današnjem trenutku imamo tekst možda najznačajnijih predstavnika ove discipline u Europi danas, a to su Bi Plivoc i Konrad van Kempoel, koji su u biti na neki način glavni zagovornici disciplina, autori najvažnijih knjiga o tom pristupu, a još su u Belgiji u kojoj se prilagodba i prenamjena stvarno podupira, ali evo imat ćemo prilike i vidjeti kroz predavanje u nastavku više o tom belgijskom iskustvu na konkretnim primjerima. Naš dragi kolega, glavni arhitekt konzervator, odnosno glavni konzervator u Hrvatskoj, Tomislav Petrinec, nam je dao konzervatorska polazišta i razmatranja i s nizom stvarno kvalitetnih primjera prilagodbe i prenamjene u hrvatskim okvirima, a zatim Alan Brown o potrebi prenamjene tih zastarjelih, odnosno kako je on to lijepo rekao, brzo izgarajućih arhitektonskih tipologija razvijenih u razdoblju moderne, gdje se zaista taj odnos između funkcije i forme jako brzo razdvojio i u biti o svim tim problemima i pristupima isto napravio jedan divan tekst. A Daniela Kalču, kolegica iz Bukurešta, je u biti sad evo na tom drugom spektru. S jedne strane imamo Belgiju tako prekrasnim primjerima i velikom podrškom. Ona priča o primjerima iz Rumunjske, o problemima s kojima se susreće, koji su puno ozbiljniji nego naši, i o svom angažmanu u biti u jednom projektu, što ćete vidjeti, vezan sa arhitektima iz Ukrajine, odnosno njihovom pristupu kasnijoj obnovi, evo, koja im slijedi. I onda, kako smo ovako imali taj jedan teorijsko-praktični put od mlađih glasova, starijih, više iz konzervatorske perspektive, više iz arhitektonske. Za kraj smo htjeli ipak vidjeti kako to zvuči u prvom licu, odnosno autorske tekstove temeljene na vlastitom iskustvu iz prakse. Napisali su Vjekoslav Gašparović i zajednički tekst Damir Gamulin i Antun Sevšek. A također je sam kraj, jedna rasprava, jedan, rekli bismo, preteča cijelog ovog broja. Naime, 2024. godine u svibnju, čini mi se, uoči dodjele godišnjih nagrada UHA-e, je održan jedan razgovor u hotelu Zonar sa autoricama projekata koji su bili nominirani za lanjske nagrade UHA-e. To su Vedrana Ergić, Vanja Ilić, Dora Lončarić i Lea Pelivan. I to je bio tako lijepi razgovor, moderirao ga je profesor s Filozofskog fakulteta Socijeka za povijest umjetnosti Marko Špikić i ja, i to je bio tako lijepi razgovor da nam je bilo žao da te misli ne ostanu ipak zabilježene na papiru, tako da smo evo završili s transkriptom tog razgovora. I kad sam evo samo spomenula Ivu Masters, zaslužnu za taj stvarno krasan engleski, moram reći da naravno uz cijeli savjet nakladništva koji je peglao bilješke i trudio se da broj bude i tehnički što uređeniji, da je u smislu te korekture i ljepote ČiP-a duša toga Maja Trinaestić, koja je valjda vezana uz ČiP dulje od svih nas. I evo, tako da mislim da bez Maje ne bi imali ovako lijepi ČiP.
Hvala. Evo za Tomu na kraju pitanje, koja je bila neka urednička vizija vizualnog strukturiranja tog materijala? Znači riječ je o dvojezičnoj publikaciji, o stilski i žanrovski vrlo različitim prilozima sa varirajućim ilustracijama, pa koja je bila neka tvoja energija i neka tvoja uputa kako bi to trebalo izgledati i posložiti?
Treba ovo koristiti ili ne treba? Treba koristiti. Dobro. Pa ideja je bila da ovo je neki način, neki izboj iz ovoga kontinuiteta koje su spominjali Maja i Roman, u taj 4. broj koji je na neki način kroz ovu temu neki ponovo 0. broj, neko novo ishodište sa tom nultom temom koja od Laskoa na ovamo traje, ta modifikacija, prenamjena, asimilacija i mijenjanje zapravo stvarnosti i umjetnosti. Tako da je po prvi put u povijesti vjerojatno dvojezični broj, tako da je potpuno se otvaramo prema čitavom svijetu na taj način. Tako da iz ovih kataloških fokusa prelazimo u širi panoramski, otvaramo se prema svima, široj publici na jedan novi način. Tema je interesantna, uvijek prisutna znači, a okruženi smo jednom kontinuiranim gradilištem, tako da ova žuta signalna boja te godine koincidira sa tim trakama opasnost i under construction, tako da čitava ta atmosfera je i prijelom u principu prati jednu žestoku, intenzivnu i opasnu situaciju, gdje uvijek postoji to nasilje u arhitekturi između ljušture, novog programa, cross programminga, cross dressinga i tako dalje. Tako da na neki način smo pokušali taj materijal sumirati u jedan intenzivan materijal koji je uzbudljiv materijal, koji jako vibrira od super malih slova do ogromnih slova, do jednostavno pulsira u svim smjerovima i u široke panorame i vertikalne stupce, tako da pokušavamo na neki način uzbuditi zapravo korisnika. I ovo što je Roman govorio je zapravo vrlo važno da smo se vratili u taj fizički svijet, da imamo fizički odnos sa tim svim podacima i možda treba razmišljati možda i o tim nekim reprintevima, što je Dom u svoje vremeno napravio baš ovako mega izdanja tih reprinteva zadnjih 50 godina. Tako da, jedno zapravo sjajno iskustvo, jedno uzbudljivo iskustvo, dosta intenzivno iskustvo s Petrom, u puno seansi, ali na kraju je ovako, čini mi se interesantno taj broj u konačnici izgleda.
Evo, hvala, nadam se da će ga svi doživjeti tako uzbudljivo kao što ga je Toma opisao. Ja bih samo ovaj kraj ovog prvog dijela iskoristio da zahvalim još jednom nekolicini ljudi koje smo tu možda spomenuli, možda nismo, dakle mi Roth-Čerina kao predsjednici, UHA-e i Vijeki Gašparoviću i Ani Šverko kao dopredsjednicima. Zatim htio bih istaknuti pojedinačno članove savjeta nakladništva koji su se svi potrudili oko i ovog i drugih izdanja ČiP-a, a to su za Anu, Tomu i Maju Marija Barović, Damir Gamul, Jana Horvat i Patricija Počanić. Još jednom napominjem, Maja 13 je tu vjerojatno od svih nas. Broj je prevela Iva Masters, koja je odnedavno sad i uključena na drugi neki način u rad UHA-e, tako da ćete još imati vjerojatno priliku susretati. I također zahvalili bi se nekim stalnim suradnicima i suradnicama koji već godinama prate produkciju ČiP-a i različite doprinose u njoj ostvaruju. To su Marko Mihaljević, Divna Antičević, Ana Bedenko, Mihael Giba, Antun Sevšek i tako dalje. Sveučilišna tiskara već godinama prati UHA-u analognim pothvatima i naravno zahvaljujem Ministarstvu kulture, Gradu Zagrebu, Zakladi Kultura Nova koji nas i financijski prate. I još jedna zahvala sponzorima godišnje izložbe koji također sudjeluju i u produkciji ČiP-a, posebno glavnom sponzoru tvrtci Herman. Ja bih s tim završio ovaj prvi dio, vas bih pozvao da sjednete još minutu dok najavim sljedeće predavanje, pa ćemo se onda ćemo se magnuti. Dakle, kao što je sad već par puta spomenuto, ovaj ČiP je dvojezičan zato što je, osim kao neki iskorak u neku refleksiju i kritiku koje smo možda i premalo imali u arhitektonskom izdavaštvu posljednjih godina, njegov cilj je internacionalna razmjena znanja i ovo događanje je zamišljeno kao neki hibrid ovog okruglog stola i tog predavanja strane prakse koju smatramo važnom upravo zato što naglašava taj aspekt broja i taj aspekt nekog djelovanja. Dakle, s nama je danas ured noAarchitecten, odnosno Philippe Viérin. To je ured koji su osnovali Philippe Viérin, Anne Fontaine, Jice van den Berg 1999. godine. Ured djeluje u Belgiji s lokacijama u Briselu i Brižu. Danas, kao tim od oko 25 članova, noAarchitecten razvija bogati raznolik opus koji obuhvaća javne institucije, stambene projekte te transformacije postojećih i povijesnih zgrada u Belgiji, Njemačkoj i Švicarskoj. Od samih početaka praksa se usmjerila na javne zgrade s kompleksnim programima u povijesnim gradskim središtima. Njihov projekt prilagodbe i prenamjene srednjovjekovne utvrde Headstein u turistički informativni centar u Antwerpenu ušao je u uži izbor za nagradu Miss van der Rohe za 2024. godinu, pa ste ga imali priliku pogledati u Prirodoslovnom muzeju u sklopu programa Miss u Zagrebu. Dakle, predavanje će, kao što sam rekao, održati Philippe Viérin, jedan od osnivača ureda, rođen je 1969. godine u Brižu, diplomirao na sveučilištu u Gentu 1992. te radio kod Stefana Bela u Brižu, te u uredu Kees Christianse u Rotterdamu. Osim što je partner u noAarchitecten, vodi ured Viérin Architekten u Brižu, bio je član, a zatim i predsjednik Komore za kvalitetu Zapadne Flandrije, te je predavao na TU Delft i Katoličkom univerzitetu u Luvenu. Godine 2020. objavio je knjigu Plac, odnosno Place, kao rezidencijalni arhitekt te osmislio prateću izložbu u muzeju In Flanders Fields u Ypru.
Of course, reuse is a big topic since some years. If you go to an architecture shop, there's a lot of books about reuse. There's one or a few where you see some projects of Belgium. This one was made by Christoph Graffe. He was co-author, and he has been, so he's German. He was the director of the Architects Institute of Flanders. And in this book we have a project of ours, which was in fact our first project we ever did together, so with noAarchitecten. It's in 2001 that we won a competition, an open competition. We were still young then, and it was an ugly building. There was a very little sum of money, and we won it because we didn't really do much to the existing building. We just kept it. We said there's so little money that we need to keep it. And back then that was the reason. It was not climatic sustainability or whatever, it was just a reason of money. So we proposed to keep the building, and 200 people would work in it. It was a former bank office, and the idea was to enlarge the city hall of a small town near to the French border. 200 people were going to work in this space. What we did was we took off all the linings. This is the same space as you just saw. You have to imagine that if you take off all the linings and all the claddings and all the ceilings, and you become a very interesting new structure, or at least old structure, but new situation, as you can see here, and also bring some light in. And this is mainly what we did. So the demolishing or taking away of some material was the biggest move we did in this project. And then we brought in mainly furniture to organize the space. So this for us was like getting to know how it works to keep buildings, not for a sustainability reason back then. Of course, today that's an extra reason. Although, of course, as you know, in the 19th century, it was the most logical thing to do to keep a building and to just keep on working with existing buildings. So this is also a knowledge that we started to get to know. Aldo Rossi here says that the building is more important than the program, and he also says that the best transformations over centuries that we know. So the big examples that we know that are old, that the best ones were made without an architect, and of course that's interesting. it says something about trying to be natural, or trying to really work with the existing building. And of course it's strange as an architect not to be too much an architect, but we try to do that sometimes, or often, let's say. A first project is, or a second project, is a town hall, a second town hall in Menen, another city near to the French border. It's composed of different parts, but it looks like a hall or like an ensemble. The part that you see here is 18th century, with on the right side a belfry. Belfries in Belgium are typical towers, and they are UNESCO World Heritage. So you see that it's a building of 40 by 40 meters with, it's a kind of solitaire, but it's composed of different parts. I will show that in a moment. So this is the part that is 18th century on one side, one market, and there's another market on the other side. What you see here is what happened during the 20th century mostly. So the photo was taken here. We see the belfry here. There's the old opening, and this is the part that was 18th century. And then there's a lot of built-in, as you can see, and this part is 19th century. The idea was to, although the 19th century had nothing to do with City Hall, was the idea to show power and to make it look bigger than it really was. What we did, so you see it here as well, the 18th century part is visible here, and the 19th century part, which is composed of housing. So there are 5 houses here, and there's another 2 houses there. So as you can see, we kind of cleaned the 20th century part, or the additions that had come ad hoc during the 20th century. And we added 2 new volumes there. So we kept most of it, but we added, in order then to be able to use these parts which are very different from each other. The structure, which you can see here, is a metal structure, which organizes the differences in level between the different parts of the building. And this is a part that is slid within the courtyard of the 18th century part. So it's a town hall, a city hall, and here is the council. So the councillors here have their meetings, which are important moments. And this is an open space, you will see. So this is how it then fits into this model. And this is how it works in the plan. So you see the structure that is slid in the courtyard and the other one that is made here. And this is a transparent one. So it's an open space, but it is transparent, it's glazed. So that from here on, you would enter here. And this is where we speak of naturalness, or the logic of the building. So we keep the old entry. We come into this courtyard. And from here on, you can be helped through desks, and you can be shown where you can go to. So here we have back facades to these older houses. This is then a view of this courtyard with new elements here, with this table around which you have the councillors meeting every now and then. And then this works like a kind of lanterna for this space, which is 9 meters high. So you see here the 18th century part, which is quite high, 5 meters and 4 meters, so 9 meters in total. The other side, as you can see, there's these differences in height is lower. The 19th century part is lower. You see it here also with this. We're looking at the backside of these houses, through which then you can go into other spaces, other parts of the administration of the city administration. So this is another level taken, photo taken on another level, and also showing the belfry. And then here we have the council room. What we also saw, and now I want to come to something else, because what we just saw was organizing. This is something else, it's another level we wanted to bring in it. So in the attics, we saw that there was still paper on the walls, so the typical domestic aspects of paper. Wallpaper, of course, as you remember, I said it used to be houses. So the city hall is or the old houses are refurbished into city hall. And what does that mean? We wanted to use this, and we asked to an artist to design wallpapers. So this is a sequence of 5 houses where we made openings from one to the other in order then to be able to use them together. And this is where the 5 wallpapers come from. The idea was, of course, to bring back the domesticity, so the history and the former use of this of these houses. So this is a space where you can come and see an administrator. For instance, you could. This is the space of the pensions administration. So this is a place where you can find yourself back in a very, let's say, comfortable kind of space with a wooden floor, with the new wallpaper, and yeah, the setting of the old houses. So that's an element that we found important. So this kind of spirit of the place, to keep that. Let's see if we can do that in an old prison. We wanted to do that, and I think we managed to do that as well. So the old prison of Hasselt, which is a city to the north of Belgium. You see the old town or historical center here. It's on the border of it, and it's this space. So the University of Hasselt was looking for a space or a plot to come back to the city. It was built outside of the city. This typical green campus of the 70s, but now they wanted to build a new faculty of law. They were looking for a long time for a spot, and then the city of Hasselt helped them and said the prison is going to be freed. Well, we can give it to you for a symbolic euro. And then the university said, yeah, but what can we do with a prison? They organized a competition to check whether it was possible to do it. It was a feasibility study. And the proposal was to add 2 sites, so to make it larger, but also to demolish part of the building. So this is when we came in a competition, an architectural competition. So it was told that we could demolish as much as we thought was necessary of this, you would say, heritage, no? Mid-century, typical prison. The type of these prisons came from England. They were shaped, as you can see, with a panopticon in the center. So a very nice, or an interesting building, at least as a typology. So we didn't want to demolish. So we proposed to keep it all, and we built indeed 2 other buildings. So the 3 of them formed together a campus for law. So it means that law students are taught, I should say, are taught in an old prison. Normally we laugh if we see that, because it's such strange. It's but maybe typical Belgian to do things like that. I don't know. So here you see that there's more buildings, and there's connections also between them. There's an underground connection, and there's another underground connection here. But for the rest, the biggest thing we did was to simply open the doors, these doors. So we proposed to keep the whole of the building, which of course is a negative element. It's difficult to imagine that young people could be using an old prison for teaching and feel good in a building like that. But what we proposed to do was to keep it, and also to keep the wall, because if you don't keep the wall, you don't have a prison anymore. But when you open the door, it's a totally other building, even if you don't change the building as such. When you just keep or give the possibility to open the doors, then it is very different. So the negative element of enclosure or forced enclosure becomes a positive element of community building among students and academics. What you see here is the original plans of the prison. So the panopticon here, but there's a strange panopticon because the corridors are on the outside and the cells are back to back. It means that it's not in the center that you see everything, but you have to walk around in order then to see everything. So at that point you can see two corridors, etc. And the prison itself was very grim, as you can see here. So the corridors were very small in terms of height, but those, they were 2.10 meters or so, and they were 1 meter wide, more or less. Very grim, and as you can see here. But then there was this potential of big gardens that were not used, and we imagined that it could be used for auditoriums. This is then the panopticon itself that we also will show in a moment. And strangely, it looks as if this building is built like a monastery. So as you can see here in these old images, it almost looks like a monastery. Indeed, the idea was back then that people could get better. That it was a kind of community where people could get better. And it's also Romanesque style, so kind of a neo-Romanesque style, as you can see here. So the proposal that we did was indeed to open these big doors, and this one as well, to have a passage underneath here, through which you could then reach a classroom building, which was standing here, and a practical underground passage here as well. The building that I showed there is the rectorate building, so the administration of the university. And then, as I already said, we created auditoriums in the between the wings. Here, a smaller one, a bigger one, and here is an open space with a cafeteria. And then the idea was that students would enter freely, of course, would enter through here or eventually through there or through there, and that there would be lush passages that you could really like walk into the building. And as you can see here, maybe you can see it that the corridors became wider. So there we changed the corridor. So it is by positioning this a bit deeper and a bit further from this wall that we made more comfortable spaces inside the building. So the image where we see that we didn't do so much on the outside, there's the doors became transparent, and then we built you could say it's an office building, which is a bit of a complementary in terms of its color, in terms of its materiality. Opaqueness here, more transparency there, red, green. So they form a couple, but they are very, very different. And then seen from the top, what do we have? So we enter here or there, and then we can go in here. So then you have this auditorium, the smaller auditorium. We wanted to bring light inside, so here and there as well in this cafeteria. And then here we made an outdoor auditorium and a kind of little park, mini park here on top. This is then when you enter one of the courtyards and very large spaces inside where students really can hang out. And walk, and then you have this passage underneath to the other building, and each time you see the old wall here. So there's always like a kind of reference with this old wall. On the left we have the auditorium, the larger auditorium, and here as well. This is then the panopticon that we changed. We also imagined that it would be a place where you could, as a kind of a lawyer, you could eventually speak to the people. So we made balconies around. This is then the corridor. We worked together with an artist there as well to use different colors in order then also to find your way into this building. The building itself became like a little city within the walls. And then the corridor became much larger, as I said. On the right side we have the cells. The doors of the cells became glass doors. On the left side we have the auditorium. And then light is filtered through. And also towards the inside. So you see that we have this canopy hanging here, but there's also light still coming through. Even if we wanted to make this larger and higher, we still wanted light to come into the cells. And now the cells are used by the students as concentration work spaces that they can freely use during the class hours. And it is quite popular. They like to use them. So these are these balconies I was talking about. This is then the large garden of the place where they can have their meal. And you see that the fan shape here that we have in this old outdoor spaces. These were the spaces where the prisoners would go to have their time outside. And this gave shape also to the building that we made here. The fan shape and the kind of sheds that bring light in. This is then the passage to the other building. So it's kind of underground. This is the other building. This is the classroom building on the left side. We see the three buildings coming together here. This is the prison, the smallest one. This was a remnant of the war period, the Second World War, when the German army used it and made it into a kind of bunker. And the other building at the back is the administration building. And this is then a view from the classroom building back to the prison, where you can see the outdoor auditorium on the right side. Het Steen is a castle in Antwerp. It is a very strange castle. It's a bit difficult to explain even. So what you see here is in fact a part of an old wall around the first old city. And something strange happened. We'll have to explain that. And on the other side, that's the same building. You see something even stranger. There's parts which date from the late 19th century, and even a part on the right side that dates from the 1950s. Late 18th century, sorry, I was wrong. So the 1890s or 1885 to be exact. And then 1950 on the right side, this low building, this one. So it's kind of you could say a collection of a lot of things brought together. So how to make sense of that? Already, of course, when we work with existing buildings, you have to analyze a lot. There's a lot of analysis to be made. This is this is Antwerp with het steen here. The word steen means stone in English, so it's quite easy. A bit closer. Okay, this is going to explain a bit more what happened. So this is the old wall around the first city, and this building is in fact a little corner of this old town, you could say. And then something happened in the 19th century, or at least the end of the 19th century. So this is how you could imagine in the 12th century this wall with of course houses inside, and also this part that forms het steen. This is then what happened later. Of course, the city gets bigger, so the wall dissolves within the larger city. And then, end of the 19th century, the River Scheldt was rationalized, or let's say the port of the city, or it was a portuary city. So it needed to become more rational, more easy to use, and so the quays became long stretched quays. And so what they did was to erase all the buildings between this line and a new line that was created here. And then all of a sudden somebody wanted to rescue this building, and they did in the end. Just a little portion of this old town was rescued, but then for a long time they didn't know what to do with it. It was just standing there. You also see the difference in height. So it was flattened also. So it was standing there really on a heap of ground. And then after a few years came the idea to make it into a castle in its own right. So they added turrets like this one, and also these buildings of the late 19th century were added, and it became like a chateau, like a castle. So it was you could say a historical construct. It was an idea. It wasn't reality. It wasn't, you could say, authentic, or at least this is a question mark, whether is this authentic or not. But it was part of a larger development of a square that was created here, and also a passage through the building, as you can see here. And you have to imagine that the photographer is standing on the other side. So there's a symmetrical passage. So the idea, of course, of what they did, the big works that they did here by straightening this line, had to do with the rationality of the port. So on either side there were portuary activities, but you could walk on these walkways and see the activity. You could enjoy the river and also see the activity. This is then a view from the other side. So we're standing on this walkway, this high walkway. We're looking at a late 19th century building, which is neo-Renaissance mainly in terms of its style. And then in the 1950s happened this. So they, a part of the building was destroyed. So if I go back for a moment, so this part of the building was destroyed. Only this part was kept, this little tower and this. And then they built something new there. So this is a 1950s building. It was meant to be a museum. But in terms of its architecture, it became, or it lost its quality. So you can say that at the end of the 19th century, they did something strange, a construct, something which is really invented, not real. But at the same time, you can also say that it was of better quality than what they did in the 1950s. The reason why they did it in the 1950s was specifically because they thought that what had been done at the end of the 19th century was not authentic. And so it was just after the Second World War, modernism becomes important. So kind of reality or exactness becomes important. So they tore it down and made something new, which is quite banal in its architecture. So when the competition then came, and this is a view of the other side, we thought maybe we should get rid of that part. Okay, so form follows fiction. So fiction is, of course, what was done in the end of the 19th century. So this is a view of the river with the building standing here somewhere at the back. Should be here somewhere. So you see how important this river was and how important the city was back already in the 16th century. Antwerp was a very large, important metropole in the world. Our idea was to reconstruct somehow what had been done at the end of the 19th century, but do it in another way. We were interested in a few references. This is one that is important for us, maybe the central one, which maybe you recognize. It's Edwin Lutyens. It is a castle that was built between 1910 and 1930 for a very rich person who had become rich in very short time. And he wanted to become more important. Money was not enough for him. He wanted to become as important as the nobility in England. When you really want to be important in England, you have to have a country house, or you have to have this kind of building, or a coat of arms, or so this is really what he wanted to do. He asked an architect to build history. And so Edwin Lutyens was asked to build history, literally, and to build a house that looked as if it was older. But at the same time, if you look well enough, you also see that it's a bit strange. It's not just, it's not only old, but it's got elements that have something timeless over them. So this idea of being able to build time, we thought was interesting. Also inside. And this is, by the way, the owner, the client. But you have these big, kind of monumentality inside, which really goes with it. So this is the situation before we started. So we took away this part of the 1950s, and we built something new back. And so we did the same as had been done in the late 19th century, but the forms with which we worked are different. We want to learn from Edwin Lutyens somehow and make something which could stand time for a longer time. And then we worked with a material which is different, but at the same time, in terms of coloring, we wanted to have continuity between the two. This is bricks, which is the normal, or let's say the contemporary material next to natural stone. You also see that here. This is the part that is 1,000 years old, the old wall, and these are parts that are more like 16th century old. And you see that there's a difference in coloring also from here to there. So there's a kind of layering. So we wanted to also have this gradient going from darker to lighter. And there again, we worked together with an artist called Peter Vermeers, who is based in, he's Belgian, but he's based in Turin, in Italy, and he makes gradients. So we wanted to work with him to do that. So to go from one color to another color over 20 meters, more or less. So this is then a test we did together with him in the factory somewhere in Denmark. And so you see the artist here. And this is seen from above. So it's about 20 to 25 meters high. And this is then the result of the existing on the right side and the new on the left side. So there are some characteristics in the new that remind of a castle. It has to do with the ground floor, which is closed. So a castle or a fortress is something, or is an object that is defending itself, or the people who are inside. And here the defense is towards the water, because the tide is rising, and so there was a question to really keep to make sure that the building itself was also the defense towards the water. So it was a good thing for us. And then we made large openings, a bit like you've seen in the reference, but also some strange openings, and some strange things happen. This is a little anecdote reminding also the castle elements. And also a castle has roofs that are accessible to view to be able to defend the place. So here's some images. This is the entrance. inside the building. So the passage through the building is really running through it here. So the promenade or the walkway is here at the back. There you see it a bit better. This is the side with the tower. So we also wanted to make a tower here, this one. But it doesn't look so high from one side. It looks higher from the other side. And we also wanted the building to become an infrastructural element. So in this walkway, there was no possibility for disabled people to access. So the tower itself here, you can see, there's also accessibility given to the people there. And there's this building becomes a kind of element of infrastructure in the sense that during this the walk you can also go up and have a look over the river. So you can go up. There's a lot of bricks inside, the large openings. There's also a place where you in the tower where you can look out. And then there's the lookout on the tower. No. And then you have these strange openings here and there, and kind of awkwardness of a castle. We wanted to give it to this building. This is a museum in Brussels. It's called Canal because the canal is next to it. This is the reason. And in Brussels, we speak two languages. So we use it's a combination of two languages. In Flemish we would say canal, and in French we would say canal. So that's a kind of combination of both. The building consists of a very large workshop, as you can see here, from the 1930s, 1933. It was a garage from a Citroën, so a Citroën garage. And what you see here on the right side is the showroom. So the workshops go together with this showroom, but they seem as if they are separate buildings. You see it from above. So the center of Brussels is here, and the building is here. And the Pentagon around, for those who know Brussels, which is the center of the city, is more or less here. It's a Pentagon, and we're on the corner, so just outside of the historical center. And of course, you see the canal. The canal itself became an important element in terms of development the last 10 years. The idea of the bouwmeester, because we have a bouwmeester in Flanders, but also we have a bouwmeester in Brussels. The term bouwmeester, I don't know if you know it, Baumeister in German. So this bouwmeester, Christian Barret, proposed to develop the canal zone and to give it more, let's say, opportunities, or he saw a lot of opportunities, but at the same time he didn't want to get rid of the industry. So the idea was to add a lot of functions, dwellings of course, but also keep industry, and in that sense it was quite new. And then the dot here is the spot for the new museum in the center of the Canal Plan. What you see here is showing that the poor areas of the city are around it. We call it a crescent, the poor crescent. So the building itself is not just a museum, but it's also a social project. It's very much a social project. Our motto was to trust in what is there. It's a collaboration of 3 architects, Surges and Bates from London and EM2N from Zurich, and us, noAarchitecten. So this is the project. So the as found with the showroom here, and then the rest of the building here. So the workshops, and then this building also was bought later on, and so it can also be part of the project. This is then an image from the 1930s, beginning of the 1930s, to explain that this showroom became a beacon in the city, and it's also the moment where electricity and lighting becomes important in the city. Michelin, Citroën, I should say. Michelin were the ones who bought it because Citroën never saw the project. He died. And then Citroën was bought by Michelin. But anyway, André Citroën was already had some large shops and factories in Lyon, in Paris, and in Amsterdam as well. But this was the one that would become the largest shop. He would even call it Citroënville. So you see it's very high, it's an Art Deco style on the inside, but it's more modernist on the outside, and it's 20 meter high more or less, the showroom. The structure of the building was built in 3 months. It was prefabricated, and it was raised in 3 months, so very, very fast. It is a building of about 200 meters in one direction and 120 meters in the other direction. Here you see the situation in 1934 when it was built. So it was a very vast, almost infinite space with a lot of light coming in. And then after 25 years, at the end of the 50s, a new level was built in. So the kind of idealized image that we just saw was replaced by a situation which was much more practical, adding a new floor to create more surface. But at the same time, for us, we understood that an interesting spatiality, spatial quality came into the building thanks to this extra floor. So these are some images before we started to work. You see that there's also a lot of color also inside. The color has to do with the way the building has been used over 90 years. So there's a lot of colors that have been applied in different parts of the building as a kind of signaling element. And it's very vast. In this direction, it's 150 meter long. And in this direction, it's 200 meter long. And it is, when we were standing there, it is at the spot with our back to the showroom on the second floor, more or less, that we understood that this building is very much about movement. And indeed, of course, it's the movement for the cars. So the cars were driven around into the building. But this movement is still in this building. So we understood that it should become a building that was open to the public, that you would just be able to enter without having to pay a ticket, and then a bit like in the prison project where you can walk, where you can just enter and walk and be there. And then the 5 big ideas. It's working with the showroom as a symbol. So we said we don't need another symbol. The icon is already there. So let's not build higher. Working on horizontality, which is an evident thing when you work on museums. Working with the existing structure which is inside the building, a bit like we did in Menen as well, in the city hall. And then adding, because of course the building itself was not able to receive large spaces for art. Because art needs 20 degrees more or less, and also humidity needs to be very closely watched. So we propose to add 3 volumes, which are, which can be perfect in terms of climatic conditions, and which also can carry the bigger machines on top of them that are needed, the technical machines. And then also production became an idea. Here we mean that we want to attract a lot of people from the outside also to work inside the building and to make workshops, to have workshops in this building. It has to do with the idea of keeping industry alongside the canal. Public interiors, as I already showed, this is one line and another line which is inside the building, so this cross is there. We call this one the nave, like in a church, and this one a street. And this is the showroom. And you see that there's a lot of things happening So the ground floor is quite full. We will see that there's a difference with the first floor. There's also a ramp going up here. There's a ramp going up here. There's another one going up here. These two form more or less a kind of up and going down and up and going up situation. There are we were not necessarily interested for these volumes to be felt on the ground floor. They are a practical instrument. By having those and by having all these machinery on the top, we can also element or feed these spaces with conditions which are okay. And this is then an image showing the atmosphere that we are searching. So keeping as much as we can. In the end, we couldn't keep the floor. It was too difficult. But this is the street. So looking with our back to the canal and looking at a new park that is going to come at the other side. And this is the street here. So we're standing more or less in the cross. We're looking towards the showroom here. The slopes going up to the showroom. I will show that in a moment. And then, as I said, the ground floor, we didn't worry too much that it was very full because we liberated the first floor more. It's more free. There's more open space here. So we really imagine that you walk up the slopes, come up, and that you're able to walk around and here and here. You could go down here. You could go up here, go down again here. And then also reach these spaces in the showroom. On the piano nobile, we call it, the first floor, there's also a stronger relation to the water. The water of the canal being very low. You can't really see it in the city because it's rather low. But from the first floor, there's a stronger relation to the water. And you see here this openness and this kind of free possibility of wandering and walking. This is then a library and also a part outside of the library, but inside the building. So it's really like a large public interior. And this is then the showroom where we opened up again, because the showroom, I didn't say it, but these floors were extending all the way. So in order to keep the slopes and to the piano nobile on the other side in the workshops, it was important to keep these floors, and they become balconies in this big space. The big space becomes a space that can be used in very different ways. It's a very flexible way or space, and these windows can be lifted up. To enhance this very light threshold, this idea of very light thresholds in the building, so that people can really easily can come in. So this is then the image where the windows are open, and we see the rest of the building at the right side. And then seen from the canal, which has a good orientation, and there's going to be also a possibility of using the outside here, as you can see. And then this is one of the new volumes looking out on the other side of the canal with a large loggia. Yeah. These were 5 projects. You want me to continue? Yeah? Okay. Another competition. So just to say, this project is going to be finished at the end of next year. So you have to come to Brussels on somewhere in November next year, or later, of course. This is a competition we won more recently. We didn't start yet the project. It's also a museum. It's in Ghent. So Brussels is the center of our country. This is again in Flanders. This is the north. It is a place, as you can see, with a lot of layers of history. There used to be a citadel there, and it became a park, but it was also at some point a world fair with buildings on it. And then some of these buildings were kept, others were changed, altered. This is then the condition that we know today. This is already a museum. And this is the other side, almost a copy. And this is what's in between the two. So it's a very long hall of 170 meter long, 65 meter wide. And this used to be part of this World Fair. So it was a big, interior that was meant for showing plants. So a big greenhouse, you could say. The World Fair was in 1913, so this is this big hall. And then on either side, now we still have buildings standing here and there, and here and here. These buildings are not there anymore. And then these buildings changed. After the Second World War, they were bombed, and the architecture changed into what you just saw. So this is the plan. It was also always the idea that there was an entrance here, and that these buildings were accessed through the inside. And this became a very large artificial place. This is after the World Fair. There were jumpings, for instance. They were using this hall. And so we proposed the following. So the question was to make a double museum in the park. So you see the park, with some remnants like this one of the old citadel. It's an old gate. And then what you see here is also remnants of the old citadel, because there's a topography. It goes up and down. So there's still the old citadel is still under the earth there. So it's covered with earth. And then we see the big hall here. And so on either side, there is a building. Today, the museum is this one, and this is another museum. This is the museum for the Beaux-Arts Museum, and this is the Museum for Modern and Contemporary Art, which is the same in Brussels, also a museum for modern and contemporary art. So here again as well. So what we proposed to do was to turn around the building and to have access through this big hall, and to have a new facade or a new face. Here again, it was possible to demolish the existing buildings, and only 2 of the participants kept the building. So we and Caruso St. Kept the existing building. This is a collaboration with David Kohn from London. So here more in detail. The passage through this big hall became an element that was part of the experience of the landscape of the park. This is a very strange building now used for cycling, and it's very popular. So once a year there's a big tournament there, and this is then a kind of congress center that was built in the 60s. And these are these remnants of the buildings of 1949, just after the World War they were built. So we propose to reinforce the citadel and the idea of the citadel with these with this topography that is part of the museum. And then in order to keep an existing building, it's not, and especially for a museum, it's not so easy to obtain good climatic situations or conditions. So what we proposed was to take off the outer layer. So we made a catalogue of it, as you can see here, and to recompose. So to insulate the old structure and to recompose with the same material. So it's a project of circularity. So you see here, this is the existing, and then this is the recomposition that we make out of it. So it means that the same materials are reused, but in another way. And the reason why we do it in another way is because we want to give another face. Our judgment of the existing face was that it was very severe. It was a kind of almost rationalist architecture that wasn't very interesting, and in terms of the atmosphere that it evokes, wasn't for us the right one. So we use the possibility of recomposition to really recompose and to give another face to the building. As you can see here, so the former entry to the building is not an entry anymore, and you see also the citadel here. This idea of the citadel continuing the ring with this topography, making it very clear that the entrance is not there anymore. On the other side, you see also this recomposition, and you also see that we add a volume on top. And this is then the big hall. And this is the other side, so the kind of copy of the other side. So you see that elements that were used for cornices, for enhancing the monumentality of the building, become another element. They are not enhancing the monumentality anymore. Today, and there's a connection, there's a visibility and transparency between inside and outside. This is then what we do on the inside. So you see the two facades on the outside and the two facades on the inside, which are copies, each one. So it's a double museum, literally speaking. So it's a new face on the inside. So the building itself gets a new face. This is then inside this this big hall. So what we make is a very different facade than the others. It is made in wood. It is green. It is a kind of continuity of the park. So there's this possibility of having a kind of topography on the building. You can go up. You can also enjoy the height of the hall. You can hang out. You can sit here. So people that have nothing to do with the museum can also just enjoy in a certain way this spot, and it might also attract people to come to the museum. So the old hall becomes a public roof in the park. So it kind of part of the park. You see it here on both sides, so this side and this side, with the talud. I don't know the word in English, but so this part that we make and this part that is existing. And then there's different atmospheres. I'm not going to explain everything, but this is a work by Panamaremko, which is very well known. And there's a play garden for kids. And as an artist, he always had big fantasies. And so this, it works with children, we think. And this is a new room, another new room built on top of it. And inside, these are then the main rooms. So this is the space where the Panamaremko project, or at least artwork, can also come, because it's a very long work. It's 27 meter long. And then this is on the other side, it's pendant. It's a room that we make through taking away a part of the building here. We make it a higher room, and thanks to the weight of this, we can make another room on top of it without having to strengthen the foundations. So this is more or less what's happening. These are then the entrance. I'm not going to explain how it works, because that's maybe bringing us a bit too much in detail. But as you can see here, there was always this idea of symmetry, or at least reflection, from one side to the other side. So you look from one side to the other side of this big hall, and this is also what we're doing with the project.
Thank you, Philippe, for this wonderful lecture. Are there any questions for Philippe? Okay, then I have one question. So Flemish architecture has been recently recognized as both distinct and internationally relevant, especially in this field of adaptive reuse. Could you tell us more about some structural reasons for that and some state or municipal mechanisms that stimulate it or regulate it, such as the bouwmeester you mentioned earlier?
Indeed, the bouwmeester. We have a bouwmeester. We have a bouwmeester in Flanders since 1998. It was Bob van Reet, who just passed away 2 or 3 days ago. He was a big architect, and when at his older age he became this bouwmeester, he was very good. So there was a minister who appointed him, and he did a really nice and good job in institutionalizing this bouwmeester. And so now I think for the first time, we have a woman who is bouwmeester, which is a very good thing. And I think she's the 5th in row now. So, and there is what Bob van Reet did. So the first one, he organized competitions. So he went to all the institutions of the region of Flanders, and he said, when you want to build something with public money, you should pass through us, and we should together organize competitions. And this is what enhanced quality. So the prison was one of those competitions, and the city hall, the second one that I showed, was also one of those competitions. Steen was also one. So 3 of the 5 or 6 projects, and even this one is also one. So 4 out of 6 are fitting within this. And at the same time, we also had a Flemish Architecture Institute that was created, more or less parallel to that. So which enhanced also awareness for architecture. And one of the interesting, I think all the directors were interesting, but there's Christoph Graffe was an important one. He came from abroad, which also he had a good network, and he kind of also brought people together and brought a lot of attention to Flanders in his period, which was about 10 years ago, 10 to 15 years ago. So I think these elements, the combination of both, have been doing a lot. And of course, a kind of prosperity also. Economically, things went rather well in Flanders, but then not so long after that, they did the same in Brussels. So there was already also in Antwerp, in the city of Antwerp, but then Brussels is a region. So Brussels in itself, like Flanders, is a region within Belgium. We have 3 regions, and Brussels is also a region. So we also we have, I think since 15 years, a regional bouwmeester also. Yeah. So this also then, it's what happens, or what helps a lot is competitions.